So is it it's Voltaire?
No,
Yeah.
because
Why
they're doing it
Voltaire
differently
after
now.
the philosopher?
They're doing...
My guy, I don't know, man. My mama named me, man.
Voltaire, I think therefore I am. That was Voltaire, wasn't it?
That was.
Do you know what it is?
Oh, no, it was Descartes. That was Descartes.
No,
sorry.
Voltaire was. I may not agree with.
Okay.
I may not agree with your.
Yeah, I defend to death.
But I
the right to
defend.
say it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Alright,
you're a
this-
very tolerant human being, basically.
Nah, man. Fuck everybody all the time, man.
But your mum named you Voltaire.
She did, and for very good reason.
Bro, can I just do the introduction, please? Jesus Christ. But
I'm just
anyway...
fascinated, man. I've never met anyone called like such a powerful name.
We'll come back to
It
it.
sounds good, but yeah.
We'll come back to it. We're gonna let Leo exert his stresses.
Sorry, Leo.
Go on, Leo, when you're ready.
All right, this feels very unnatural and very professional at the same time. But today we have another guest, an amazing individual who I really respect a lot. Currently, property developer,
Come on.
retired youth worker,
Come on.
master youth worker.
Come
actually.
on.
He used to run his own organization, supported a lot of people, uplifted a lot of people, helped people develop. And you know what? I think till this day you do that anyways. That's you. That never goes away, I guess. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, father,
Yeah, father as well,
brother,
husband.
you know, friend.
And shining star, ladies and gentlemen. Shining star.
Yeah, and then today we got myself, Leo. We got an amazing.
You said Leo and did this. I'm
no,
Voltaire.
I said myself, Leo, and then I'll pass it on to you.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm Voltaire. Y'all already know who I be. Come on. We out here.
But what's this? Everyone's just rusty. Like it's crazy out here, huh? You're rusty, bruv. Come sit here then. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. It's nice to have you here, man.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, what's been going on? What you been up to?
You know what? It's, do you know, I could be deep or I could just be plain.
Bro, start on the surface and then go deep, bro. Go deep.
So I think what's been going on, it's just trying to redefine myself and what my purpose is. Because I think I've been, from a long time, I've always felt like it's my responsibility to, not to give back, but to try to uplift people, right? As we were talking about before. And now I'm in a commercial world where my responsibility is to build and sell things. I'm still trying to figure out how I can make it fit with my values and still feel good and feel really good about the commercial side, which is possible, really possible, but finances are involved. And when finances are involved, it can slightly pivot your motivations.
So, do you know what? So I wanted to ask you a really, really important question, yeah? So going, it's inspired by Milambo, by the way, this question, yeah? So going from like the public health, kind of like working in, in the youth work industry and charity world, and moving to the world where, you're dealing with people commercially, you're selling properties. Like what's been the biggest learning, like comparing the two? Like what you've learned along the way?
So a fascinating thing is okay, so youth work, it's a long process. So when you're working with a young person, it can take 5, 6, it can take 10 years before you have an impact on someone's life. And sometimes, as anyone who's in youth work will know, after maybe 15 years being in the game, someone will come up to you randomly in the street and say, hey, yeah, I remember you. And you may not even necessarily remember them, and they'll say, do you know what? There were some things that you said to me or some interactions that we had that were really positive and they had an impact on me, and you'll never really know. And maybe it didn't have an impact at the time, but it took, a while for that impact to come to fruition. In building, what's fascinating is one day you just start up with like a messed up house. The next day you just tear it down. The next day you're putting the bricks up. The next day you're putting doors in and windows in. So you see the change really, really quickly. And that for me is something that's really interesting because you actually get to see something that you've created in a very short space of time. Youth work, it can take a decade. So that's one of the most attractive things about property development and construction.
Do you know what? That's really interesting. Just to add to that as well, usually with like funding bids within charity sector, like they want results straight away as well. So they would ask for particular evidence, right? So they ask for like evaluation of the program, and they'd be like, how many young people are feeling more confident or feel better about their life and all of that stuff. But like you said, sometimes those things happen 10 years later. So there are no funding bids that say in 10 years, we're going to reach out to these people and see what impact that program has had, which is crazy.
That's so true. And I think that's the difficult thing because, like, as all of us know, right, there are certain things that we remember happening to us in our childhood, maybe something that our mum said to us or something that a friend did, just experiences that have had negative or positive consequences and have impacted us in different ways and maybe built up our confidence or torn it down to a certain way, made us nervous about doing things. And so, like, everything takes so long with human beings and you don't know exactly what may have an impact and what may not. So it's really... the funding situation in youth work is just another topic, but yeah, I think one of the nicest things about being in property is that that's different from youth work is in youth work it's very difficult to prove what you're doing, and you almost need people to trust who you are as a person and what you bring to the table when you are a youth worker, and unfortunately everyone wants results now. So then you start playing the game where you have to start giving people questionnaires to say, have I impacted your life in a positive way? I remember one time we had some funding that came in, and we had to, at the end, it was like a summer program. And at the end of the summer, we had to get everyone to write questionnaires. I think it was about kind of finding yourself or questioning who you are. And at the end, everyone's questionnaires, the beginning of the program, everybody said they felt cool. I think they gave like 5 out of 5 or whatever, how good they felt about themselves. At the end, they gave themselves like 3s, 2s. So it actually looked like we'd done a really bad job. But actually, the whole purpose of the course was to get people to reevaluate where they were and what they wanted to do. And in some ways, it was important to break people down and make people feel like the positions that they were in weren't as good as they thought they were. So actually, it had a beneficial effect.
Aspire for more.
But to the funders, it didn't look that way.
Yeah, because they I think a lot. Yeah, sorry, go on, just jump.
No. I was just listening. No, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, but at any point, if you want to jump in and say something, then feel free to do so. But also, I think young people are not stupid, right? Like a lot of the times, from my experience, like whenever I ask young people to fill in particular forms, like they know what it's for. Some of them do, some of them don't, but most of them know what it's for. They know that we need to like evaluate how they feel about certain things. So they're not stupid. They just tick like everything's cool anyways. Like they just naturally do it.
No, it's so true. Even when you ask people, like at the end of the year, when our organization, when you were writing things down, you have to say, you ask them kind of, how do you feel? Do you like the organization you're working in? Blah, 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 blah. And all the young people, they understand, look, I need to just basically give it, 10 out of 10. I need to give it 5 stars because I know how the funding games work. I remember one time in particular, there was a young person and I think the news came down and we were doing an interview. And I went to speak to the person and just said, look, so you kind of know what you need to say. I think it was about, they were coming down kind of talking about our organization, but they wanted almost just a story from a young person. And the young person said to me, yeah, no, don't I know how it goes. Like, I'm just going to talk about how, like, I used to be involved in crime in the past and I was arrested and in prison. Then I came out, I found this organization and it completely changed my life. And I was like, bro, that's not what we want. Like, I don't want you to, like, but he understood. I need to create this arc. I need to talk about how bad my life was and how amazing my life was and how you changed my life so that we can get more funding. I was like we know that's a lie. Right?
He's playing the game. He knows the game.
And the guy's only 14 years old.
But
he knows how to play the game.
Wow,
that's crazy. It's sad to see and understand that young people they've gone through it so many times. They now understand that we have to create this outcome for more of this to be around. It really shouldn't be like that. They should be able to give their honest, open opinion, and whether it bangs or not, that support should still be there for them. Yeah. But sorry, you started on who you are and the property side of things, and then moved into your life with young people.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you make the transition from first starting off with young people to moving into property development? What was the catalyst?
My dad's Jamaican and I've got lots of family in Jamaica and they come from pretty extreme poverty out there, and so I've always felt really lucky just to be in, just to have a free education service, just to be able to, have all the positive things that come with living in the UK.
Okay.
So I've always felt like it's my responsibility to then support people who maybe in kind of a similar situation to me, maybe not as beneficial as I am, but as we're saying, to be in a position where they can stand on my shoulders effectively, where the next generation can be more powerful. But also from a personal perspective, I mean, I've been completely honest. Like I was also in a situation where, like I didn't want to be in a situation where I go out raving and I step on someone's toes and, they want to like shoot me for it basically. My thing was I want to create a community or an area in which I live in which young people feel valued and want to do things that benefit their community and themselves and their families. So it's kind of self-serving really in a way. But what happened was I ran into a young person who was, they came from Syria. So I was running a youth organization and they were homeless at the time. They'd come from Syria, from the civil war. And they were living, on the streets. They came to my organization to say, look, can you help me out? Can find me some accommodation. And what I realized was having a home was essentially the foundation of everything in his life, right? That gave him the ability to have an education. That gave him the ability to apply for jobs. But it's also, a mental health issue. It gave him the space to be able to feel safe for one of the first times in a number of years where he could relax and just unwind, right? And I realized that home is the foundation. And so for me, the idea of being able to give someone a home became, I wouldn't say a central part, but it became a significant part of what I wanted to do for people. So a way of being able to house people or create an environment in which people celebrate their Christmases, their birthdays, after work, they go home and they unwind, they have parties. Like that's a really special thing to be able to do that. And sometimes maybe we don't think of it in that way, but it really became clear with this young person who was homeless. So for me, the idea of being able to buy or build and develop and create became something that was quite intriguing because it kind of fitted in with my philosophy of trying to create positive mental spaces for people in my community.
So do you know what's really cool? Yeah, like I usually hear stories on YouTube was like, I'm a property developer, come and invest in real estate and da da da. So there's loads of YouTubers, loads of videos like that where people do stuff like that. I think you're the only person that I know in real life who does that stuff. How does someone get into it? Like, how would someone get into it? Like, what's the starting point?
Before you start, do you need some more water?
No, I'm cool, man. It's cool, yeah. So, do you know what? It's tough. The best way, so when I was at the charity that I set up, what we used to do is we used to ask young people to pull their money together. Because actually, if you work together in a team, your money goes a lot further. Because some people don't have, if you want to buy somewhere and do it up, it can cost a lot of money, right? But actually, if you pool your resources, if you've got 6 good friends and everybody puts in $5,000, now you got 30 grand. Now you can put that down on a deposit and buy a place, I don't know, up in Sunderland. You can rent out to students, right? And we try to encourage people to do that. Also, I think because it's a type of thing that requires a lot of support, it's much easier if you do it kind of with more people than just yourself. But yeah, the way in which we actually ask people to get involved, particularly some of the young people, is just to find a place that you can easily rent to people, find a place where there's a couple of universities, find a place maybe that's near a hospital, in a town that's not too expensive, and buy it. And the thing is banks will give you money to buy property as long as you've got some collateral, because they know if you mess up, they'll just take it back off you, and they'll take your car, and they'll take your house, and they'll take your wife, and your kids. They'll take everything.
Long day. They don't really mind. They'll take your wife.
They don't mind. So actually, it's not that difficult. The challenge, but we decided to do stuff out, further afield in other countries, just because everything's a lot cheaper. Because the UK kind of gets a bit difficult to do that type of stuff. But do you know what? It's a really interesting question, because I think sometimes when you hear people, they talk about where they are now, and it feels like unobtainable. You feel like there's no way you can kind of get to that point, and it's almost in a way, a bit depressing. It makes you feel quite negative. Whereas actually, it's really possible to start out quite small and buy somewhere just for about 100 grand. Like I said, up in Hull or something like that.
Quite small. 100 grand.
No, but you don't put the 100 grand in, right? You put in the 20K, you know?
Okay, you put...
So-
because there are a lot of things that I've seen online about 5% deposit, and then from there you can help that grow and
possible.
this, that, and the other. So I've seen it, and it's piqued my interest, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes.
But I think for me to be able to do it properly, I'd need like a mentor, sort of a guide on this situation.
Yeah, read that. What does that say? Read that out
Property
loud.
developer UK, India, Ghana. Yes, come on, you're out here still. 15 developments total GDV is £43 million.
Come on.
In sales. Don't have that much.
In sales. Guys, people are sleeping on this
Do you know
guy.
what it
you
is?
know?
This is public information and it's out there, so
People
you
are
get me.
sleeping.
But
Guys,
I wanted to celebrate.
Instagrammings.
I wanted to celebrate, man. Honestly, yeah, man. Just remembering like what we've been through, working within the charity. Because obviously we worked in the same charity for a while, and just remembering that. And then I remember we met after he wasn't there no more, after he left, and I was just saying like, yeah, life is great. I was just like, yeah, man. It's, you know.
Nah. No,
Is that nah?
no. But listen, the first thing I want to say that's important really important is you've heard this many times, but for me, like what I love was the first time I met Leo. Like I just come in and I was hired as to almost to run this academy, this charity, and so like I came in, literally I just came in. The other person just introduced me in. And just this guy came up to me and said, look, man, like, we need to talk. Like, I've got some ideas. Like, we'll talk. And I genuinely thought, like, I didn't even know what position this guy was in, but I thought he was, like maybe like a consultant or, like, quite a senior guy, maybe a fundraiser or something like that. Because the way, the level of confidence that he approached me was of that type of person.
He said he's a somebody.
Yeah, man, he's a somebody. I didn't know, he'd only been hired, like, a few months before me. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you've been working for the organisation for a while, but for me, it always stuck with me because there's a lot of people, I think, who, they're kind of, you know, they just want to do their job. They just want to play their position. But one thing I noticed about Leo was that he had a vision. And for me, that was inspirational for me because it made me realise that, like, I had a responsibility. I had a big responsibility. Like, can you swear on this? This is
Man.
like, you just can't fuck this up, basically.
Yeah.
You can't fuck this up. So, yeah, man, and I kind of feel like that for me, there's lots of little things that have inspired me, and it's just that little incident just made me feel like going forward. I'm not saying like in all ways, but going forward, it makes me feel like not that there's people relying on me, but there's a sense of expectation to accomplish. So there's times, you know, because I'm working for myself now, ultimately, like I have no line manager. I have no one telling me to get up in the morning. I have no one doing performance reviews. No one giving me monthly one-to-ones. There's no one telling me I've got to be at a meeting at a particular time. I don't have to get up at a particular time. I have to go to bed at a particular time. So everything I have to motivate myself when you're doing stuff when you're working for yourself. But it's those little gems in my life that have been dropped that make me feel every time I'm just a bit like I just feel like, nah, man, I've got a responsibility. I'm doing this for something. So I always appreciate this guy. This guy.
No, I appreciate it too, man. All the time. Yeah.
I don't appreciate you.
You don't appreciate me.
Joking, man. Listen, man, Leo's done a lot in life, bro. My life specifically, bro. And
this is a podcast. This is not. Let's talk
Finish
about
what you're saying,
Leo.
man. You have to say it.
Fam, what is this turning into? This is meant to be a podcast, you know. Like, this is meant to be a podcast.
Leo, we should
Do you know what
Leo
it feels like?
Appreciation
accept
Society.
it sometimes.
I know, but do you know
bro.
what this feels like? Yeah, this feels like this doesn't even feel like a podcast. This feels like we're just sitting down and having a conversation, which is true. That's what a podcast is sometimes.
Chopping it up.
Well, or most of the time, but sometimes podcast feels like a podcast. Sometimes it feels like a conversation, and
True.
it's
Should we
crazy.
get back to the
Yeah,
segue? Sorry,
I've got a question. I've got a question.
No, but just before we go on to that, you know, like, I think, like, it's completely irrelevant, cut it if you need, but, like, why is it as guys, like, we find it hard to take compliments? Why? And I don't understand why. It's because we don't get complimented much. I specifically as men, I feel like we don't very often. But when we do, we find it really uncomfortable, and I don't understand why. But
I'm
I
cool
really
with it
do.
now.
I know you are because you
Yeah.
worked at it. I remember this time when you made that decision, but it's a weird one.
So just as a little reference, guys, at the moment there are 5 guys in this room, no ladies. Yeah. And when he said that, sorry, that's a bit sus. Easy. But when he said that comment, all of the guys looked at him and were like, yeah. So it's actually a thing among the man, and I don't know why it is. The fact that you've worked at it means that it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Means that
That was a big
you've
problem.
had to realize that it's a thing. Man. I mean, your response there was a bit...
No, I'm cool. No, it's not even that. I just didn't want like the audience like listening for like you know what I'm trying to say because obviously it's not about that, innit? So that's why it's kind of segued it
First, it can be cut
to have a
either
thing
way.
a bit, which is cool. Like it doesn't have to be, and you know what I'm saying. But do you know what it is? When I realized that I don't have to feel about it in a certain type of way, or I get to choose how I feel about the compliment. That's shifted for me, and it took a bit of practice, like the same way we go to the gym and. You know, so that's why I can take. That's just whatever. Like throw compliments. Like, it's cool, man. Take,
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Malambo, I got a lot of respect for this guy. Jerry Sapp.
Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for this guy. If everything's accomplished in
Come on, big up Milambo and
Come
Aladdin
on.
behind the scenes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
just to let you
saying?
know, we've got Malambo here in the cut.
Yeah.
Just to give him background ad-libs if he wants.
Come on.
Aladdin as well.
What else?
No,
What
so-
else? You know what? This feels good. You know, this actually feels really good. Like doing this feels really good. This, you know what? This is beyond just an episode and all of that stuff. This is lit. This is lit. Why is Wiley?
Because, man, you were like, this is beyond my man said the surface. He had to... Anyway, but let's get back to the pod. So, actually, I had a question earlier. You were speaking about how growth was hard, is something that's hard to get to. And so with me, I grew up with just my mum for the longest period of time in my life. And so it was hard to sort of see a male role model and understand what it should be. This is my life personally, yeah. But in passing, I saw Five for Peace. I actually grew up had some time in my life where I was in North Woolwich, literally on, I think it's called Church Street, something like that, which is one road away from...
The strip.
Yeah.
I
literally.
didn't know that.
Yeah. It was only for a few years, but it's minor. Anyway, what was the question? The question I was segueing to was if we as humans haven't seen that light that is... Let me pause for a second. No. If I go back, we're speaking on growth and how you might see someone doing really well and not think we can aspire to that, but think like it will be hard to get there. Think that will be a struggle for us to climb that ladder. What does it take in a human for their mental to have that switch to go from, oh, it's hard to climb that to, oh, this can actually be done?
I think it's circumstance.
Okay.
I think something will have had to have happened in someone's life. It'll either be someone or something will have happened. Either there's a guy I know who's, I think his dad he was in the States, but his dad fell really ill. I think he was only like 21 at the time. And like he was just, hanging around doing what he was doing, maybe going gym a little bit, going out raving, that type of stuff, normal. But then because he had to pay for healthcare, it was like basically either his dad's going to die or he has to find the money to support his dad. And I think he was saying that when he was in a car out in the car park, it just switched for him. It was like, okay, I know what I need to do now. Like I need to start making money somehow. Like for me, so I have I did a PhD, right? And the only reason why I did it, I always kind of thought maybe I don't know, like if I got intelligent, and I just went to a training course one day, and some guy, we were doing a training course, and I was asking some questions here and there, and after the training course, he came up to me, he's like, you know what, like, you should do a PhD, and that was it. That for me was the belief I needed, like just the confidence to be able to do that. Like even when it came down to doing property, it was I can remember clearly now. I was basically when I got married, when we realized that we were going to have a child, my wife was kind of like, look, I want to stay at home and provide as much support for the child for the longest period of time. I don't want to send the kid to nursery or whatever at an early age. And I remember we went out to a family wedding in the States, in Houston, and I remember landing in Heathrow, and I was just thinking. I was like, all right, do you know what? I need to do something. Like, I'm going to be now the primary earner. So that for me, it just like that, just as just a kind of a switch flicked. And I was like, okay, now I need to start finding opportunities for myself. So I almost feel like, but that's where role modeling is so important. That's where seeing someone do something is so important.
100%.
Like the reason why, I mean, part of the reason why I did my doctorate, my PhD, was because as a youth worker, I wanted young people to say, oh, wow, so you're a youth worker, like, you know, you're just a youth worker type thing. Like, you know, you're running these sessions, acting like an idiot, whatever, you know, just da-da-da. And, oh, and you got a doctorate. So it's possible just to be kind of like a normal type of person and to have a really high academic qualification. Yeah, man, it's like it's role modeling.
Yeah, go on.
But that happens. Our society is filled up. Listen, do you know how many times you would be in a whiz with the Uber driver and the Uber driver has got a doctorate in one thing or the other, or he has a PhD in this, or he's saved lives, or people just around the world come here and just settle. Do you get it? And it's scary to see because personally, I feel like if you have that much potential, you should be showing that shit off. That shit should be on fire. People should understand that you can and you have the ability to help. You have the knowledge. Do you get it? Personally, I don't like that. Yeah, I want people to be able to see it. Yeah, man. Because if you've got it, let it shine. There's a reason you have it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
That's my personal opinion, anyway.
I think it's the humble people that find it difficult to take the compliments a lot of the time. And I think that's got something to do with it. You know what? Yeah, see with PhD, yeah, does everyone have to write a book? Like, what's the process of getting a PhD? That's what I was going to ask you. Like, how does someone become a doctor? Because recently, I've been meeting a lot of doctors. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Just as a recent like this year, I met a lot of doctors. I've been doing some training. No, not like that. But I've been doing some training programs and most of the experts that they shared like a lot of really interesting like intellectual like ideas and all these other things. They were doctors. But every single doctor I've met, they've written a book. Is that part of the process, or someone has to write a book? You have to write a book.
You do. Basically, so it's
You have to.
Yeah, but it's not as hard as it seems, right? Because you're writing on something. So okay, so you guys remember GCSEs, right? GCSEs. It's just you're just regurgitating facts. You know, not all the time, but okay, when was the Battle of Hastings? When was the Magna Carta signed? Whatever, you know. Cool. A levels. You have to do a bit more critical thought, but it's still lots of kind of tiny little questions. Then you do a degree and it's like longer essay forms on kind of subjects that people have given to you. A PhD is actually easier. A PhD is you can do whatever you want. You just have to write, obviously, a long thesis. You have to do an investigation on something that you are interested in. That's it. It could be anything. Literally, it could be anything. It could be, you know, what socks are the best types to wear. Do you know what I mean? It could be...
My socks.
It could be...
Dude, they don't look too comfy, dude.
It could be how I don't know how aerodynamic beards are. Do you know what I mean? Like it literally could be anything at all. So the point is with the PhD is that it's really something that you're interested in. So for me, you know, even when that guy said to me, look, you should you could do a PhD, I was like, but what I should do it on? He said, well, do it on something that you like doing. Do it on something that you've written on in the past that you're interested in. He was like, okay, so you're interested in kind of in the concept of being mixed race. Do it on being mixed race. Like, just keep it simple. I was like, all right, cool. That's it, done. And you have to write maybe about 80,000 words on it. You know, investigate.
80,000.
About 80,000.
Does in some way, shape, or form, does it include philosophy? Like, does every single book include some type of philosophy? There's a reason for I'm asking that.
It depends on the subject. So mine was in sociology. So so just to give you some indication, mine was basically like I was working I was doing a session somewhere, and we were kind of talking about like race in youth work. It was like one of these discussion groups, and I remember one girl said, "Okay, so you got black. It's kind of like it's a color, it's like a race. White is a race, but is mixed race a color?" And I was like, "Is mixed race a color? That's interesting. Like, is it its own group?" So I was like, "Okay, so let me now do a study to see, let me investigate to see how people regard mixed race people in British society." And then I thought, let me just compare it with how people see mixed race people in a different environment. In Australia, is where I chose. And so I just went to Australia, asked a whole bunch of questions to some people over there, did the same in the UK, in Lambeth, and then just wrote about it. And then in order to obviously, yeah, it has a philosophical element because you have to research what people have written about it in the past. So obviously, in order to complete the project, you want to read around the subject. You know, are there any themes that I've thought about, any kind of ideas that I need to consider? And that's where the reading comes in. That's where reading up on philosophy, sociology, and anthropology comes in.
I think there would definitely be some level of philosophy involved because there's just so many different levels of philosophy that they stem across near enough any and every walk of life that it will come up somewhere or the other. It just even if it's unintentional, do you get it? You might just the actual philosopher might not come up, but the theories behind and what they say might still pop up. That makes sense, in my personal opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
But that's the interesting part because it's a doctor of philosophy, so that's what PhD is.
Yeah.
It's actually a doctor of philosophy. So
Yeah, that's what it stands for. Yeah. You're right.
like you take the philosophy, you just chop. You know what I'm saying? You like as a doctor, just chop it up and whatnot.
No, but I think it's one of these things where for me, like it's important to say that it's like it has a massive impact on how people see you, and I think it's weird is that we were talking earlier about playing the game, right? In almost presenting yourself in a way that has an impact on people's lives and or has an impact on what you're trying to accomplish. And having a doctorate, having some sort of qualification, in the same way as wearing this blazer or having a trim or whatever, it has an impact on how people see you. And anytime I go to Africa or anytime I go to India, people give you an extra level of respect because of that. Now I'm just the same person. Like I'm not more intelligent than anybody else in this room, but it makes people see you in a very different way. And that's useful.
And then I think understanding that concept in the first place is very useful. Because I think, do you know what? I think what's changed for me as well, as a reason, I think in the past I used to be like, oh, this person's fake, this person's doing this or whatever. Well, actually, I realized that's a really important aspect of we spoke about playing the game. But one thing I wanted to summarize, because you kind of mentioned parts of like the environment and the circumstances, and we kind of spoke about a little bit of that. But I've had this concept of comparing life, or a lot of the times in youth work in particular, actually, we talk about, is it the environment or is it the individual? Is it how the person
Nature
makes
versus nurture.
Yeah. But actually, I've come up with a conclusion, and maybe I should write a book about this and become a doctor as well. Yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Fascinating subject.
I've actually my theory is this. Yeah, it's not even a theory to me. It's I see as it's my factual reality, not everyone else's. But you guys play blackjack?
Kick your ass at it. We can go in there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the way I see it, there's 4 elements. I've actually got a 4th element from Ebbs. I spoke to him about this, and yeah, big up Ebbs as well if he's listening to this. So the first one is, so the hand someone is dealt when they're playing blackjack is the environment. We don't get to choose the environment, right? So it's just dealt. It's just what we're, So and what I realized as well, some people that are dealt good hands, they have a good environment. So there's a lot of people out there, some people are born into whatever circumstances, so they have a good environment, right? So the hand we're dealt is the environment. We can't change that, yeah? How I play my hand are my choices. Yeah, that's the second element. So the choices I make is how am I going to play my hand, yeah? So that's why hence there can be person A and person B. Person A can win with a shit hand, person B might lose. Yeah, but I'm already starting on the back foot, right? Because I got shit hands, yeah? The third one is, who are we learning from? Like, who's teaching us the game? Yeah, who's there to teach us? Because sometimes someone might have a shit hand, but if no one's there to teach them how to play with that shit hand, they'll still lose. Yeah? And now the 4th one is, and this is what I got from Ebbs, is who are we playing against?
Ooh.
Yeah. And that's the powerful one, because sometimes, in blackjack, someone might cheat. They might put another card on top. They might whatever. Some people cheat. Some people play fair. But then I realize sometimes I'm playing against the government. Sometimes I'm playing against someone else. Sometimes I'm playing against people I want to play against. I love it. I enjoy it. It's enjoyable. And it's really, really interesting because some people that do really well, or majority of people that do really well, they got all 4 of them. Yeah. So they got a really good hand. They've got some really good people to learn from. They make some really good decisions. And they play against people that are losers.
Wow.
That was actually quite sick.
That was
That was kind of sick
that's
still.
really cool.
I rate that.
Yeah. I might write a book about that
That's good.
still.
That's good. That's really
That's my book. I'll put it in one page. Innit?
I said the thesis of
Yeah.
Blackjack.
Can I write a book with one page?
I don't think you can, my bro. I don't think that's how it works, man.
What's the definition of a book? I suppose that's the question, isn't it?
There's probably a requirement of minimum. So
I can't lie. I got a book, yeah, and this book had about 5 words per page. It was this thick, yeah, and every time you turn a page, it was like a good quote or like a happy quote. Do you get it? It's called 101 Ways of Happiness or something like that. Something like that. It was, but it's quite lit though. Every time I flip this page, I smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not many words there, G.
Yeah. When was the last time you opened that book?
You know what? I lost the book, bro. I did read the book done. So no need to find the book again. Yeah. But in all honesty, the book was given to me in 2016. So of course I won't have it at the moment.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
Might have to cop another one.
Yeah.
You know what? I researched into it because I love the book so much.
Yeah.
There's several different ways. There's 101 ways to happiness, 101 ways to... It's just all about positivity and good. It was given to me when I first got told I was meeting the Dalai Lama. So that was when I got that book, and it was given more so as a sense of calming and humblingness. Like I wasn't that already. Yeah,
That doesn't sound too humble.
I was at the time. I was at the time.
that didn't sound too humble.
I was at the time.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've actually had like a really specific question on the way here that I've written. Something. So what does I am creating everything I experience mean to you?
I'm creating everything.
Yeah. So what does I am creating everything I experience mean to you?
Is that one of his quotes?
No. That's the question that came up with when I was coming here. So what does that mean to you? So like if I'm saying I'm creating everything I experience, like what does that mean to you?
To me, that would be about perception. That would be about, that's about how you perceive your experiences.
So do you want context for this question? Because that might help like have this conversation a bit better. So on the way here, I've had this really fucking interesting moment. Yeah, I was in a station, and I don't know, sometimes that's how my head works. Sometimes things just come to me randomly. There's no specific trigger or anything like that. I was just walking, and I started thinking, what if everything I'm experiencing right now, like I'm creating? So not in a like a kind of like a crazy like way or whatever, but I'm thinking the sound that so when I'm hearing things, you know, the whole thing of like, what are we listening to? Are we listening or to the sound that's there, whatever stuff. So what if what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is what I'm creating based on my own reality, right? So not to say that those things aren't there, but maybe those things are there differently to other people because they're creating it differently. So what if it's me that's creating it?
I don't believe so. The reason I say that is because this is for me personally. Obviously, yours is your own reality. Do you get it? But for me, it's like, if I miss the train, yeah, I didn't create the train being missed.
Okay, so check this out, yeah. What if, same scenario, but this time you can't hear and you can't see?
I still missed the train.
I know, but are you creating things around you? Are you experiencing things?
No, I would still just have to wait for another train, whether I can see, hear.
I know, but how
not.
would you know you're getting on a train?
I'd hopefully have a guide with me, maybe one of the sticks. Someone you can hear.
But just imagine that you can't see and you can't hear. What does that look like?
It looks dark and upsetting. Looks sad. It looks like a sad time. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not something I would really want to envision. It's actually one of my biggest fears.
Do you know what I love about certain experiences? Is that sometimes
Scary.
Some experiences we have as individuals, or I have as an individual, is like no one will ever understand unless they really understand it or unless they experienced it.
I mean, but we all experience. But I suppose that's what I mean about perception. We all experience things differently, right? And we all come in with different energies. So we'll all sit and have this conversation. We may have completely different, we're all hearing exactly the same words, seeing exactly the same things, but we may have different perceptions of how we feel when we leave or what we took from it. But that's based on all of our experiences in the past, right?
So that's where I wanna. So you know what? That's the word. The word is perception, right? So I want to replace perception with creation.
Okay.
What if we're not perceiving? What if we are creating? What if it's not perception? What if, you know, when people say, "Oh, I perceived it this way," what if they said I created it this way?
So that goes back to the training course that you set up.
Mm.
I think it was around coming from, it was around resilience, but or at least that was kind of where it led to. But it was about how you feel about things that happen in your life, and so it was about basically the energy that you bring to situations and what you take from experiences. So I remember what did you used to say? You used to say it was like when you'd leave a meeting or when you'd leave an experience with someone, how you feel about it was based on you could create the impression of that meeting or the impression of that conversation or that interaction, because you have the mind has the ability to create things also that don't exist, right? So, and the mind is very powerful. So, yeah, that's interesting. You're right. You could, because that's the point, I suppose. Either you let your mind create the experience for you, or the feeling for you, or you create it yourself. You tell your mind to have a particular impression of whatever interaction you've had.
Because if I'm in a station and there's a train going past and I don't pay attention to that train, then that's not part of the creation.
But if it is the train that the original reason that you were going to the station is to get on a train, and you don't get on that train, surely you'll be upset.
So, but that's interesting. So that's why. So then the thing is you could be upset, right? But I've heard you talk about this in the past that you don't have to be upset about that, because you could actually tell yourself that it's a good thing that you missed that train, because it means that you can spend an extra, I don't know, few minutes enjoying the sunshine, or you can spend an extra few minutes on the phone or whatever. And I think that's where the mind is quite powerful, because you can then you can change the outcome of what's just taken place.
I think, you know what I love Voltaire's reaction to this conversation, yeah. And we just got like really. I think some people might be listening. What the fuck are these guys talking about? But that's cool. That's part of the process as well. If you don't get it, you don't get it. That's all right.
You lot did this on the last pod, you know.
Huh? Yeah.
The
Listen.
last time you did this, I watched it back. I was like,
I'm a philosophy guy, you know. Just and I think sometimes for me, my challenge is sometimes like I'd love to have more of these like philosophical conversations, like to this level. But sometimes not in a disrespectful way. Sometimes I don't have people to talk to about particular things. You know what I'm trying to say? But yeah, I was going to make a point actually, and it just left my head.
philosophy.
Shit.
No, you were talking about
It's
the
all
way
right.
Voltaire reacts.
Yeah, the way Voltaire reacts. Yeah. Oh yeah, the way it reacts. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, because sometimes, and this is what I realize with people, sometimes when there's a new alternative that people didn't believe existed, they go like, hold on, that's not possible. And it's almost like there's an autopilot to go back to the normal, comfortable way of looking at things.
Nah,
it's like the thing that surely you're going to be upset if you miss a train. Actually, being upset if you miss a train is a choice.
It's a choice, but if you have somewhere to be...
This is what I mean. This is the reaction I'm talking about.
No, wait.
You can't believe there's another alternative. But yes, go on.
So what it is, yeah, I'm all here for an alternative angle. I'm here for the different viewpoint. I'm very much here for it. But... sort of the crux of what you want to do is you want to get from point A to point B in the least amount of time possible. That's what people tend to want to do when they're going on a journey. Tend to. I say tend to because it's not everybody, yeah? If you've started the journey and your goal is to get to point B and you start at point A, you not getting to point B in the fastest amount of time, it's not going to be the end of the world, but you'd be like, maybe I could have saved myself 5 minutes.
So here's a question for you. Whether you're going to be upset about it or not, does that change?
Sorry?
Whether you're going to be upset, like, so if you're upset about it, or if you're not upset about it, what difference does it make? Does it change your distant, like, you still missed it, right?
So there's me speaking from my point of view and me speaking about it from the point of view of most people.
Okay, now to speak from your point of view.
From my point of view,
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, I missed the train. I probably should have caught it. Would have saved myself 5 minutes. But I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die.
So you don't get upset about it.
Not really. I would have liked to get that faster time, but I don't get upset about it. I just, it is what it is.
But there will be things that you get upset about that you don't have to be upset about.
Yes, very much so.
For example, when I got a
All the
drive,
time.
but when I got my driving ban, yeah,
Wait, why are you laughing? I don't understand.
yeah.
Do you drive?
So like obviously, I think initially, do you know what? Actually, I dealt with it like quite well straight away. Like Milambo can confirm that. Do you know what it is? Because I realized that whether I'm upset about it or not, like I'm still gonna like
The ban is still there.
Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah.
So like, so my thing's always been like, why should I be upset about something that I can't change? Like, why don't I just like, what can I do about that?
The craziest thing, so I'm on a driving ban as well. Yeah.
Jeez.
Come on. I shouldn't be spudding him. That's a bad reason to spud someone. But yeah, I'm on a driving ban as well. When I first got my ban, I can't lie, I was supposed to be off the road for a minute. They were supposed to charge me an arm and a leg. It didn't turn out that way. But end of the day, I'm still on a driving ban. When I came out, I was like, okay, well, I could be upset. I'm on a driving ban, cry every day about it. It's not going to do anything. Ban's still going to be there. Do you get? Might as well just wait until the ban's done, enjoy my life. So, yeah, man, positive outlook on shit. It helps.
But do you know what? I think the most interesting part about this is, you know, some people practice this and some people know about this already, right? But I think what I've learned along the way is like, how quick can we get to that space?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So how quick can we get to that space? Because some people can get to that space in a week. Some people can do it in a day. Like some people can do it almost instantly or in a minute. And I think that's been the biggest change for me. That's what changed it for me, because I'm like, I understand the concept. So how quickly can I get there?
I'm quite bad with it because I also realize sometimes I can do it at too fast of a pace. So it makes me seem a little bit cold on certain topics that you really should have more sympathy on in life.
And this is gonna sound cold as well, but that's not your problem.
It is and it's not. At the end of the day, I still want these people in my life.
So then you're gonna pretend not to move on too quick?
No, I'm going to have sympathy and try and understand their point of view of things. Do you
But
get
you can
it?
still understand and still move on. So like,
Okay,
you can still understand it's a sad situation and still not.
For example, someone passing away. Yeah,
Mm.
let's say maybe my friend's best friend passed away. Yeah, I didn't know the best friend, but my friend knew him.
Mm.
Yeah. So obviously my friend is going to be upset that their friend has just passed away. I can't be there like, yo, G, your Don's gone, bro. What you doing? Do you get it? Because that's cold and disheartening.
No, but you're talking about behavior. So I'm not talking about the behavior. I'm talking about how you feel inside.
Yeah, but in me
Because
saying...
the behavior is still going to be supportive
your Don
towards your
has
friend.
passed away, let that slide. Like, it's not the best thing to do.
No, you're not. Listen, it's not. So it's not about how they feel. So you can't change how they feel. But when we say you might not feel the same way they do, which is cool, that's completely fine because how you feel is how you feel. But your behavior can still be supportive. You can still be there for him. But it doesn't mean, like, if you don't feel like that, then it doesn't mean, you know.
If I have moved on from it, the support, it just reduces and reduces every single time.
Not
I see
necessarily.
that
Sometimes
person.
people might
No,
need support.
Me personally.
Okay,
Me
cool,
personally,
cool,
yeah. Yeah, and it's not good.
So
It's not good.
No, it's
Yeah.
fascinating. But then, but if you, because, and I have the same thoughts as well, but it's just that ultimately, so when you boil it down, is that you're responsible pretty much for everything that you do. You're not, you can't change the world, but you can change yourself. You know, it's that old adage, right? And you can't change what happens to you externally, but you can change how you react to it. But then, so ultimately you're responsible for what you do. But again, it's not nature nurture, but it's are you ultimately responsible for everything that you do? Because environment plays an impact on how you feel about things and how you react to things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like so you said your friends, let's say your friend's best friend.
That was just an
passed away.
example. But
Yeah,
go on.
as example, right? So you know, your friend would be devastated, right? So, but he's gone, he's dead, right? So that process of healing it's a difficult one. Ultimately, you can say, look, you determine your reaction to it, but that feeling might be quite deep and quite powerful. So, is it as easy as? I mean, what I'm trying to say is it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of work because we're faced with some big things. Like missing a train is something that you can kind of manage, but when it comes to bereavement or loss of some kind, or even financial challenges, yeah, it's
Can be quite heavy.
yeah.
I agree.
That's why practice. It's always about practice, isn't it? The way I see it, it's the same thing as like just going to the gym. It's the same thing. It's always gonna stretch a little bit and whatever. So like I kind of look at it as like whenever there's adversity happening in my life, I kind of use it as an opportunity for me to practice that, to see how quickly I can get myself to the good space.
But this is why I think religion plays a role, because if you're told that everything happens for a reason and that it's a test, it's a challenge, it's much easier to manage that psychologically. Miss the train. God meant for me to miss the train because there are better things waiting for me. There's an experience that I'm going to have that he or she wanted me to have. It's easier to reconcile that than if it's just you, one on the platform, and you're going to be late for this job interview. Like, damn, man, I needed to get that job. I need to go pay the rent.
Are you religious? There was bare breath there. Are you religious?
I don't know. Do you know what? It's a big question. It's a big question.
Not particularly, It's either so. Is there a particular religion you follow?
No. I think I've been at times. I've been really interested in. I've been really interested in Christianity.
Okay.
Initially in Islam, in Rastafarianism.
Okay.
But then I've got a lot of friends who are Sikh. My wife's Hindu, and there are elements of those religions that I just think are fascinating. In terms of being religious, I don't think so. But in terms of having a code, yeah, definitely. Okay. In terms of believing, I think almost in the power of energy and being able to, I suppose, create purpose. Yeah, I have a belief, and I have a strong inclination towards that. Yeah, in terms of following a particular organized religion, I have too many questions. I think that's the problem.
Fair. As long as you got a belief system, that's all it is, man.
Do you look deep how lit life is? Like, that just, do you understand?
Sometimes you just say stuff, But I hear it because I do.
It's so lit. It's like...
That's true.
Life is... Do you want to know why life is lit for you, bro?
Why?
Because life is what you make it, and you've made your life lit. You've understood that. You've understood that something going wrong and you sitting in the dumps ain't gonna help. You could be living a shit life, but mentally, if you're winning that battle, brother, you're at it. You are out here. Yeah, man.
That's true.
But I have like, obviously I have downtimes as well, like the right times when it doesn't feel lit. Like I was, how long ago was it, Aladdin? Like, how long ago was it? Like 3 weeks ago? I was in this studio, I was like, fuck, like, it's just like, this is long, like, yeah. I
he looks, he's like, yeah, I remember.
No, I was like really ill, and after that I was just like recovering, and I was just like, my lower back was like killing me, and just everything that I could think of was wrong. But I knew even in that time that life is gonna be lit eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Bro, life just it can't not be lit. Jay. Life has to be lit.
But I don't think we comprehend the. I say this a lot, like I get into this mode a lot, but I don't think we comprehend the opportunity or like the fact that the existence.
Elaborate on that.
It's such a big thing.
Don't comprehend.
Wait, I want to jump in quickly. No, as in because I remember something that Leo did once in a session, and like I can't remember what we were doing. We were talking about something, and we had like, I don't know. When I say complaining, we were talking about a challenge that we have that's difficult to overcome. Whether it was, I think it was funding for the organization, or whether it was the police, stop and search, something. And I remember Leo just said, all right, look, Google, what are the chances of being alive?
Oh yeah.
And we're like, that's okay. So just Googled it. It was something like 33 trillion or something like that. It's like, then you deep it. Okay, so do we realize what has had to have happened in order for us to be here? Like everything in history has to have happened in the exact same way in order for us to be here. Like, we're not just about our parents meeting and having sex at that specific time and that sperm being all millions of others of those sperms. It's not just that. It's, all of the bad things that have happened in this world have actually created us, have given us the opportunity to be here. So all the death, the destruction, the disease, that has all given us the opportunity to be here. Not just the good things.
The planet in itself.
Everything, yeah.
Everything. Just so many elements. And it's like our grandparents, then grandparents, and it just goes off. It's just like the amount of things had to line up for us to even sit here on this couch.
Man
It's
said
insane.
Leo and Jacob in the multiverse.
No, but
yes.
Is it 1 in 4 billion?
Something crazy, like
It's just
I think.
okay,
Do you know what?
wow, okay.
I
1
actually
in 4 billion.
1 in 4 billion.
I actually feel it's one in infinity. I think.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, I think it's impossible. So I think the fact that we're sitting, I think it's impossible for us to even be alive. I think the fact that we're here is a miracle in itself.
Because imagine how many times, like like everything to have happened to line up in exactly the same way to create us to be.
Like
in
the way I say it,
situation.
and by the way, just as a disclaimer, I don't mean this in like a negative way. I mean this in the most empowering, like this is incredible kind of way. Like I shouldn't exist.
But I was always gonna exist.
In reality, no, but I shouldn't.
Like
no,
this, I
I
was
know.
always-
But
sorry.
what I'm saying to you, I shouldn't. I'm not saying I don't want to. I'm saying I shouldn't exist.
I
Like
was always gonna
like
exist.
when I actually deep it, I shouldn't exist.
Gee, my God is
And it's like
greater.
when I start thinking about these kind of like concepts and like what life is, I'm like, what the like everything just is just so incredible.
Gee,
Well,
man.
even today, right? So we've talked about our actual existence, but then, I had to, you were going to be in Italy, right? You were supposed to be in Italy. You weren't even supposed to be in the UK, right? You're born in Lithuania, right? So you're in the UK right now. That's about where are your parents from, Vote?
My mother is Nigerian Brazilian. She was born here.
Wow.
And my dad is Angolan Portuguese. Born in Angola.
That's just all over the place, right? So
Come on.
And then the UK, right? Do you know what I mean?
Sirs.
And then even to that point, for us three to meet, I had to have worked at Fight for Peace, but I had to have got a job and I had to be interested in youth work. And the funny thing is, I always remember I was traveling and I was going to go into teaching, and I applied to go to university to teach. And the interview was like the day before I came back or something like that. So I couldn't do it. So I thought, okay, let me just apply for a youth work like qualification instead. But that interview was afterwards. So it was just a question of dates. That meant that I got into youth work, which meant that I set up a charity. But the funding had to run out for that charity at a specific time in order for me to then come to Fight for Peace. And the old person who was running it had to have left at that particular time, had to have babies.
Crazy.
She was having twins. And then she had left at that particular time in order for me to jump in. So all of that had to happen. And then you guys had to meet at some. I mean, like, when you just think about it, it's insane.
Just for this to happen,
Just for
this conversation to happen is already insane. And imagine all the humanity prior to this and all the other stuff. It's actually, that's what I'm saying, it shouldn't exist. I really
Guys,
shouldn't.
life is crazy. Life is crazy. It is.
But I think, what's fascinating is that that's why, like, I often think about that. Like, I often tell people, I tell people exactly the same thing. Look, Google how, what the chance of you being here. I use that same thing because when I start to think about, because it serves two purposes. Number one, it serves an appreciation of why we're here. So actually, look, just like stop complaining. Sometimes I say to myself, like, stop complaining. And then the second thing is like, anything is possible, man. Like, literally anything is possible. For me to have got this far, like you said, 4 billion sperm? 4 billion. So we beat 4 billion other people. Imagine that, 4 billion. Like, each and every one of us did something pretty amazing. We swam the fastest.
No,
get to
I
that
had a different trick still.
I was scrapping. I was scrapping my man.
No. I told everyone the embryo was that way still. The ones there. I said,
Man said,
yo,
you
man,
flipped
them.
the sign.
I said, man, them. I said, that way. You get me? I put a sign saying that way, and I just, you get me? Trust me, man. There's no way I was the fastest in there, man. There's no
Look
way.
over there.
Man said, I had to think smart, not fast.
Yeah, trust me. Listen, what's that saying?
true,
Work smart,
work
not hard.
smart,
You get me? I am so happy
Gee, there's a
Aladdin's not.
reason you
I'm
don't
so
have a
happy
mic.
Aladdin ain't got a mic right now.
No, but it's
crazy.
mad, man. And so the idea that we beat, even forget everything else, but the fact that we beat 4 billion other sperm is an
Just to
incredible
start.
achievement. Yeah, just to
Just
start.
to
with.
start.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
incredible achievement. So I mean, look, there are obviously not obviously, sorry, but things there are challenges, right? But it's a good place to start. It's a good place sometimes to wake up in the morning and just think to yourself, wow, yeah, we did it.
One of my mentors of recent was like, before you go to bed, just have a think about.
So maybe he's gonna say something else.
Your mic is gonna get revoked, dude. You're gonna be on Aladdin's terms in the moment.
So Aladdin just confirmed
Man
it's
said
1 in
he
400
hit the
trillion,
Googles.
not 4 billion.
Wow.
You hit the Googles.
Yeah.
1 in 400
That's right.
trillion.
Aladdin misses a couple zeros sometimes. It happens. He adds or misses. It's all good,
Wow.
man.
What was I saying?
Sorry, Voltaire.
What was
You
it?
were saying your mentor.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Before you
He
go
was
to bed.
like, before you go to bed, just have a think about what you've done for the day, and just give thanks. Give thanks for exactly what's gone on. Because it could have gone many. What are you on, bro? Are you right?
I'm good. So
And
say
then
that one more time because I want the audience to hear
he's
it.
like, when you wake up in the morning, just have a think about the sort of person you want to be. Do you get it? Have a think whether you want to be strong, whether you want to be prideful, whether you want to be wise, whether you want to be, whether you want to have determination throughout the day, and speak it out loud, because this allows you, and let it be the first thing you do before you check your phone. Maybe say good morning to the missus or whoever it is that you're lying next to or whatnot. But then, you know what I'm saying? Because G will die. G. That one won't rest. But yeah. So from there, I've started doing it, and it's allowed me to, I don't know, it gives you a young piece of vim, you know? Like, from when I get out that bed, guys, nothing can go wrong that day. And if it goes wrong, it is what it is. Keep it moving. Do you get it? But
Sorry, no,
Go,
finish your point.
continue.
No, I was just going to ask. But then my only challenge, right? This is again from like a youth work perspective, is that, or just my experience in youth work is, some people are going through some fucked up things, right?
Undo.
Like, I mean, we're not just talking about hardships. Like, it could be sexual abuse, on a daily basis, right? So that's the one thing is I feel like, we're very fortunate. I feel like, I hope, not to have to experience that on a daily basis. So it's like, how do we talk to those types of people? Like,
So do you know what? And this is what I learned through youth work as well. So I'm really grateful. I learned a lot through youth work, actually. I'm so grateful I've taken that path in life. I think that if I didn't have the opportunity to build myself through that way, I think I wouldn't have learned certain things. So actually, with that particular thing, it's actually not about making them think like us or making them feel like us. Because obviously, if they're feeling, they've been traumatized and all these things are going through, I can't just say, yeah, feel like this or feel like me.
Yeah, you're lucky.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah. I think what I realized, the most important thing in youth work or any type of human support work or whatever is being there for that person, whoever the person is. So I think earlier we were talking about, I want to become like, I want to become like a candle in the dark. So like if someone's in a dark place, then I'm that candle that they go to light up, or just to say like, yo, like this is what I need, or however I can support the person. If I can become the resource for that person's growth and development, then that's what it is.
so then, but then, I'm sorry, it's not even but, it's to add is, that's where I think that as much as we can do that work for ourselves, we do need other people to support us, right? So you mentioned that it was a mentor who maybe, I don't know, flicked a switch or basically just gave you something that you could do when you wake up or before you go to bed, right? And I think sometimes there's I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on the person. Like if you didn't do well, it was because you didn't have the right mentality, right? But for a lot of people, they're in situations in which it's very difficult to obtain that type of mentality because you're not surrounded by those types of people. So it's one of those ones where I'm always, at the same time as being appreciative of where all of us are in this room, I'm also aware that that type of mentality is very difficult and very challenging. And some people are managing almost not insurmountable tasks, but but huge challenges that are very difficult to escape from.
It stems back to what Leo was saying about the blackjack hand.
Mm.
You get it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was
Like,
actually
it's
going to
almost
say
like you
the same
planned
thing.
it. It's almost like-
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes some people got some really, really shit hands.
Wow.
And you know what? The sad reality is sometimes in life, some people don't ever have the person who comes along and says, you know what, you have to play your hand like this. And some people have that hand for the rest of their life and it's shit.
But
Yeah.
that being said, sometimes you might not have the teacher that teaches you. You have to play your hand like this.
And-
But with life, with the experiences that they go through, they soon start realizing, oh, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't do that. Maybe this is actually the right way to play. Maybe I can cover this with this, you know? And so those experiences sort of help to build a person, and then it might take them a little bit longer. Might not be as easy as having someone tell you. But at least it's a route to still getting there, you know? It's a route to still getting there.
And the other side reality, sometimes people look at a hand and they say, I'm not going to play. And that obviously that's a metaphor, but that looks in many different ways. That's very destructive. For that person. So, yeah. You get me? I like how we went from happy to, you know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah,
all
man,
over-
that's
all
life.
over-
Life is emotions, bro. It goes up, it goes down, it
Yeah.
fluctuates, bro.
We're saying energy in motion.
Yeah.
Emotion, innit?
But
a
that's, I
piano.
feel, it's the challenge when you're talking to someone, whether it's your, I don't know, it could be your son, your nephew, it could be your brother or whatever. But it's then how do you motivate that person? I know this is like a random, but it's like, how do you motivate that person? Because at the same time, sometimes you want to explain to them, look, this is the hand you've been given, right? The chances are pretty tough in order to escape whatever it is you're dealing with. Like I said, if it is something like some sexual or physical abuse or just extreme poverty. So do you explain to them the reality? Because the human mind is quite smart, right? If you tell someone, it can be manipulative. If you tell the human mind that the chances are slim, very often it will just say, okay, I just accept that, right? But actually you want to try and motivate that person. So maybe the best thing to say is actually, look, there are, anything is possible, but anything isn't possible. So it's how do you deliver a message to someone that both motivates someone, because the challenges are, if you sometimes tell people, look, it's up to you whether you succeed or not, whether you extricate yourself from the situation, knowing full well that it's very difficult to do so. And then when potentially they fail, which the chances are they will, if they're in that situation, they blame themselves and don't actually blame the circumstances, which may make them feel a bit better.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone here in this room, like everyone's learnt through being challenged by something or another person. And I think what you're saying, I think sometimes it's a challenge. So like I even in because I don't want to say this and sound like insensitive, but even if someone's going through the maddest situation in life, and I'm not saying a challenge where like it creates more hardship for that person, but a challenge where it takes that person out of that circumstance. So saying, look, we need to do this thing is going to be challenging, but for you to get through this thing or to get into to the other side of, living a better life, I'm going to have to challenge you and make you or do this thing where like you're going to have to develop yourself or just be in a different thing. So it's always through I'm going to challenge you in the most positive, best way possible for you to change your life. Well, it has to be through challenge.
That's true. What's iron sharpens iron? Do you know what I mean? It's yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just we can start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Is there anything you want to say? Like just anything you want to say right now? Just I don't know, it's just random.
Leo, I got love for you, man. So much love for you. And Voltaire, I need you to explain the name. I don't care if it's on camera or whatever, we shut it down. I need to know. That's such a powerful name.
My mother was very well read.
Okay.
And when I was born, she just decided, listen, I need to give this son of mine a step up in life. So she decided to name me Voltaire, knowing exactly who the philosopher was, knowing his morals, and also knowing that the name Voltaire will open doors in rooms that I may not even be in yet.
That's true. If you were called Andy, No disrespect to an uncle called Andy. But
Sorry,
like,
Andy.
but like no, but for real, like I wouldn't, it wouldn't be as interesting. But
Listen, Andy comes in handy, bro. You get me? Don't... Andy. So you know what? Sorry, that was too funny. But you know what I was
Why
gonna say?
for that hella
Do you know what I
fire
was
for
gonna
that,
say?
dude?
Actually, this kind of doesn't help me segue into the next point as well, which is not really nice. Well, it's nice, but it's not. Yeah. I was gonna say I ain't got love for you. I love you, not for what you can do for me, but for who you are. You know what I'm saying? No, honestly, bro. Like this time, bro, I don't talk to you for like 6 months sometimes, and it's just I told you I don't measure my
December.
my connections. Yeah, when's the last time
December.
What we've spoken?
No, not spoken. But last time, like we linked.
Oh yeah. That's time ago. But yeah, no, but we haven't spoken since anyways. But regardless, it's like, bro, like, yeah, it's and I think, do you know what's really interesting in life? Yeah. Why are you looking at that?
I'm looking. I'm just.
You know what's really interesting in life? I think I was watching something and it made me think about it. It's the guy that does the dad stuff with his son.
Oh, Raising Boys to Men.
Yeah, Raising Boys to Men. And I was watching. He was talking about he was talking to both of his sons, innit? Yeah. And he was asking them, it's like, okay, cool. If I tell you I love you, it's like, how do you know that I love you, kind of thing. But basically, long story short, it got to the conclusion that the way that they know that he loves his kids is by his actions. And I realized that actions come from intention. So whatever my intention is inside, that's going to reflect in my actions.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, it comes through that.
What if, just as an example, the dad may not love his son, but he's doing actions that would put off that he loves his son?
What do you mean?
So, I don't know. Let's say they're hungry, so he takes them to McDonald's just to get them fed. Yeah, the children may see it as, Daddy loves me. He's buying me McDonald's. Do you get it? So that's he might not have the intention of love. He might just have the intention of feeding.
Okay.
Do you get it?
I
So
see
I'm
what you're saying.
thinking-
Do you know what? Like, not to get into this like fully, but just I think intuitively people can tell. Like, I think I always say like kids are, I said earlier, kids are not stupid. You remember, they're like, they're filling in forms, whatever. They know what's going on to some extent.
But although I would say there's that one of the signs of like of abuse or people who then abuse other people is that when they were young, they received abusive behavior and misunderstood that abuse for affection, or I'm not even talking about kind of sexual. It could be physical abuse. It could be mental abuse, emotional abuse. But they regard that as that is what love is, or at least that's what. And because the assumption is that the parent loves their kid, and so what you're doing to me must be a representation of love, and so that's why then they might go and do that elsewhere, because they don't have an understanding of what love is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Damn.
Yeah, this is
8
deep.
million?
Huh?
8 million people listening?
Yeah.
Message?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Now, first, just before that, is there anything you want to promote? So, for the audience that we've got, if anyone's got money to buy properties and stuff, but yeah, anything you want to promote?
So the challenge for us at the moment, what we want to do is we're trying to get as many people as possible, young people really, or anywhere aged between kind of 20 and 35, to get on the property ladder, to have a piece of property that they own. And from our perspective, doing that in Ghana is a good place to go. And genuinely, this is, from our perspective, this is something that we believe is a way of being able to get young people to do something that's financially supportive for themselves that they might not be able to do in the UK. So I don't care if it's through us or anyone else, but we really want people to look at where they can invest their money abroad, because the UK is a difficult situation. So listen, man, whoever you're doing it through.
Are you listening?
Yeah, whoever you're doing it through.
So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how did they get in touch with you? If someone was like, you know what, I want to get into it, I've got this much money I've been saving, or whatever it is.
Instagram, Dr. Jacob Vigors. That's my name on Instagram. And then, yeah, man, just find me and holla.
We'll put it in the description.
I even went to an event recently, and actually it was a young person that I used to work with, and now she's running in tech. She works in tech. She set up like a property event for people who are just interested in becoming more financially literate. And yeah, man, there's a whole heap of young people there who were just really interested, who then just hit me up, and I've had conversations with them since. And I'm not an expert, but I'll from my perspective, I'll do whatever I can to try and support people to get to a point where they feel like they can support their families when they have them. Because at the moment in the UK, it's really, really difficult for a lot of young people. And basically it's either a delivery job or you're going to have to do something on social media. But it's tough, man. It's tough. And we need to do what we can.
Yeah. There's apparently there's yeah, actually I'm not gonna get into it. It's gonna be a while. But yeah, so the last part is when you get a chance to say something to 8 billion people. Do you know what? I'd even like it. You know what? Let me just scrap that. What's your message to the world, man?
Message to the world. Send the elevator back down.
Woo! What? That's cold, my bro. Man said send the elevator back down. Give me.
What?
Yeah, because last time when he came on the pod, his last message was speak to your grandparents. His last message was make sure you have conversation with the older generation. Find out how they did it. And I was like, all right, that's a strong message. This one here, yo, the aircon just came on. Yeah, the next thing. I appreciate it. That was lit.
Come on.
Thank you,
It
fam.
was lit.
No, come on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no stuff.